Good afternoon. My name is Carlo Meghini. We are at CNR ISTI in Pisa, and Loredana Versienti is here with me to give you a demo of the CASPAR Finding Manager. The CASPAR Finding Manager is the component of the CASPAR architecture that implements the data management functionality of the OAIS Reference Model. This means that the component manages description information, the association between description information and archival information packages, and the usage of the description information for the discovery of archival information packages. We will illustrate how the Finding Manager works by giving you a demo focusing on some data that have been ingested into the architecture through the test beds. What you see here is the screen that allows you to select an architecture for a particular application. So you see in this panel all the components of the architecture, in particular DAMS, DRM, POM, and FIND. For each one of these components, the user can select the server and the port where the deployed component must be used. In our case, we use all the components from the local machine. So we select localhost and we start the demo. As a first step, we will be requested to authenticate in order to be able to access the services of the CASPAR architecture. And after doing so, we will see in this screen all the different functionalities that are offered by the components. Today, we will focus on two of these functionalities, namely the Finding Manager and the Finding Registry. Let's start with the Finding Registry first. So the Finding Registry is a component that manages a number of Finding Manager. In this particular installation, we can see that there are 4 Finding Managers that have been registered, and each of these Finding Manager is determined by a data language that is accepted, by a query language, by the server that it uses, and by the WSDL that must be used to connect to the Finding Manager as a web service. Every Finding Manager is in charge of managing description information according to a certain language. So in particular here we see that we have a Finding Manager that accepts RDF as a data language and RQL as query language, and this is the Finding Manager that we are going to use for the demo. So we access one of these managers, we provide the requested information, and now we are connecting to the Finding Manager. The user can select the Finding Manager based also on a particular choice of query language or of data language. So every Finding Manager allows to create a schema according to which description information must be defined, to list the existing schemas, and here we see that currently there is only one schema registered by this Finding Manager, and this is the SIDOC CRM schema expressed in RDF, which is the data language that this Finding Manager understands. We can create, after creating the schema, a schema object, a description information object, and then we can associate a description information object to a certain archival information packages to maintain the correspondence between descriptor information and archival information packages. Once the association has been made, this archival information package can be discovered by querying the description information. Description information can also be listed and discovered independently of a specific archival information package to which it has been associated. So now we'll do the classical workflow that must be executed in order to use the functionality of a Finding Manager. So we will start by creating a new schema. We suppose that we want to associate to a certain archival information package a description information that conforms to the schema FRBR, which is an extension of SciDoc-CRM. So the first thing that we have to do is to create FRBR as a schema if it does not exist. In this case, it does not exist. So we specify an identifier for the schema. We specify a description for the schema, and then we ask the finding manager to upload the schema, which we select from the file system. So once the schema has been successfully uploaded, and not yet. So now this schema is being sent to the implementation of the Finding Manager, which is based on the RDF suite, which is a component that manages RDF and is provided by the Forth, which is another partner of the CASPAR consortium. The Finding Manager talks to the RDF suites in order to create the schema for the description information. This is taking a while because after FRBR it's quite a large schema with several dozens of classes and associations, and therefore it takes a while to process and check that it's correct. Okay, the creation of the schema has now been completed successfully, and now we can upload a description object that conforms to this schema. This is what we are going to do now, create the schema object. So we select a particular file where the description of object is stored. We select which schema the description object conforms to, and then we ask to upload the object by selecting it from the file system. And we can also insert some description information that will help us interpreting this object. Again, this is talking to the RDF suite, that is the underlying RDF engine that is being used for this particular Finding Manager, which is based on RDF. We chose RDF because it's quite a powerful knowledge representation language, which is used in many test beds of the project in order to manage complex representation and description information. So also this operation was executed successfully. So now we can, for instance, list the description object that have been created, and here we have the new one. I think we have to create a few more, 2 more, in order to have some concrete example to show you. So we repeat the same procedure, and we upload another object conforming to the same schema. All these methods are available also as web services. We will see later one particular way in which the registry exposes the information as a web service. Here the GUI is clearly talking to the underlying component via a dedicated API, which bypasses web services, I understand, for efficiency reason. Other applications can instead use web service interface. So also this information object, description information object has been successfully created. Now we proceed with the last one. So we pick the last identifier, and it's always the RBR schema. We associate some description to this object, and we upload the object, choosing it from the file system again. Okay, when this third information object will be created, we will list all of them, and we will now try to retrieve them by using a free text search. Every finding manager implements a certain query language, but also free text search to support the non-expert user in discovering the information. So here we are going to issue a query, discovery. So these are the three objects that have been created, and now we are going to discover them, pretend we don't know that they are there, through a free text search query where we only have to provide some information. So we are looking for all the objects whose description contains this particular string. And we see that there is one information object which has been provided by IRCAM to describe some information package. So out of the three objects that have been created, only one is retrieved by this full text search query. Okay. If we want to retrieve them all, we write a different query that asks for all the objects that have an ID. Of course, all the objects have an ID, therefore they all qualify, and here they are. Now what we are going to do, we are going to associate each one of these description objects to a certain archival information package. For the purpose of the demo, we are going to use artificial archival information packages. So here we specified the identifier of the archival information package. Here we select which description information object we want to associate, and here we provide some description for the association. Okay, the association has been created. Now we associate to another IP also the two other objects that we have created. This one now. Okay. And finally, we associate also the third object to a third archival information package. Okay, we can now list all the association that we have created. We see that every object is associated to a particular archival information package. Now we are going to issue a formal query in RQL in order to discover which archival information package satisfy a user request. The query is going to be a string in RQL, which is the query language understood by this particular finding manager, and it asks for all the description information that includes the class person. So we submit the query, and we see that there are all the three objects, description information objects, satisfy the query, and we see which archival information package they are associated with. We have now concluded the demonstration of the functionality of a single finding manager.